Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole, and in today's video we are looking at 9 more style mistakes that are keeping your home from being the most beautiful it can be. If you did catch the last video, this is actually a part 2. I'll leave a link to part 1 right up there for you. These are style mistakes that are very common. They are also very easy to fix, so that's always a good thing to keep in mind. These are all mistakes that I've made, so I'm hoping that you can learn from what I've done in the past. I know that I am definitely learning each and every day. Maybe these are mistakes you've made as well. Sometimes it's helpful just to know what kind of mistakes are out there so that you can avoid them in the future. Or if you do have these in your home right now, again, they're pretty easy fixes, so it's not something that is the end of the world by any means. So we'll talk about how to fix those so that your home really shines. Just like with that last video, anytime I can show you these pictures from my own past, I'll be sure to show those. I'm not trying to pick on anybody in particular. Again, these are things that I have done, and let's see, hopefully they help you out as well. If that sounds good, keep on watching, give this video a like, be sure to subscribe. Let's get going. Mistake number 1 is going to be buying the entire matchy set. Now, furniture stores kind of make this very easy for us. You walk in, you see, say, a bed set. They have the bed, the matching dresser, a matching second dresser. Sometimes it comes with a rug. There's the nightstands. And it looks like it's a very easy way to put a room together. You basically just say, yes, I want this. You take it and you put it into your home. What tends to happen is it doesn't really speak to you at all. So it looks basically like that's what you did. You ripped a page out of the magazine of whatever that furniture store is, you put it in your home, and it just doesn't quite mesh. It's not very cohesive, and it's just a lot of the same. So the biggest issue with a lot of these is it's too matchy. It falls flat a little bit. So here are some pictures. We actually did split up a little bit of this, but we're looking at, the couch, the love seat, the accent chair. Also do have the rug, so I did go with the entire set there. So that's an example from a couch perspective. We've also done this, we've done this a lot. I have the entire dining room here. We're also looking at matching bed sets in two different places. So as you can see, it's not that it looks bad necessarily. I mean, in my opinion, I absolutely can't stand it anymore, but it's just not interesting. It doesn't look like it speaks to anything about who I am, who you are, if this is something that's in your home. So it's just some easier ways to customize this to make it a little bit more about you. So the first step, if you haven't already fallen into this trap, is just to pick out things that you like that look like they go together, but they don't match 100%. Now, sometimes you do want it to match because you're looking for an exact wood tone, and if you are looking across a couple different vendors, it is really difficult to match that. But for the most part, it's always a little bit more interesting to mix and match a little bit. Now, if you're like me and you have those matching sets and you're not looking to sell them, which is something that I will be doing, what you can do is take some of those elements and put them in different places in your home. So for example, we did keep the furniture together in the basement, but the rug we took upstairs to the office. It's not a huge distinction, but it's starting to kind of get in that right direction. If you have the entire bed set, maybe take the dresser and put it in a different bedroom. You can do something like switch out a headboard. Headboards tend not to be too expensive if you're looking in the right place. So there are just some easy ways to tweak this that don't necessarily make you spend any more money. Again, all you have to do is switch out the set a little bit. You can mix and match with what's already in your home, and that makes it a little bit easier just to break up that kind of monotone, matchy, just blah kind of look. Number 2, we are looking at paint. Now, if you're like me, you hate painting. It's really awful. But at the same time, hiring somebody to do a large job, it can just be a little bit expensive. It can be a big headache, and you're like, it's not that it's overly difficult for the most part. It's just annoying, cumbersome. You have to move all your furniture. It takes a lot of time. So I've painted a lot of rooms myself, which most of them I do regret because there are just some little issues. First up is going to be that paint sheen. So you can go anywhere from a very matte finish all the way up to high gloss. Typically, your doors, your trim, your baseboards, all of that will be in a more glossy finish compared to the walls. And then when you move into your kitchen, your bathroom, those tend to be a little bit shinier, have that higher sheen, but not all the way up to that high gloss. Now, matte paint I think looks absolutely fantastic. One of the issues with it is that it has historically just been a little bit more easy to scuff, easier to scratch, all of that. So it's not as durable as those more high shine, high sheen, high gloss alternatives. Now with those high gloss, that tends to show any imperfection. If you have started doing anything on your walls, whether it's paint, whether it's any DIY shiplap, board and batten, you'll notice that your walls are really imperfect. It's not something you pick up on right away until you start really working with them and you realize they bend, they bow, there's little marks everywhere. So a high gloss finish is going to show up a lot of that, whereas a matte finish might hide it. But then again, you have that durability issue. So in the past, it doesn't look too crazy right here, aside from just some taste differences. But when I was looking in the paint store, there was a little thing on the side that kind of guided you to which painting finish to use. So for this, it said hallways to use kind of that mid-tier sheen, which is what I did. Painted that on. Not only is it a very dark color, so I thought, hey, the higher shine will kind of help bounce the light around. It was just way too shiny. I did this project myself. It doesn't look too bad in the pictures, but let me assure you, it does not look good up close. But I just knew that it was supposed to be a higher shine for that kind of trim finish, and we went with way too high a gloss here. So really be sure to test out your paint no matter what. Even if you are as sure as you can be that that is the color and that is the sheen, put it up on your walls in patches in different spaces, look at it throughout different days just to make sure that that really is what it is you're looking for. And then keep in mind that paint has come quite a long way. There actually are some very matte paints that are mold and mildew resistant that can be used in your kitchen, in your bathrooms, which look absolutely fantastic, and it's something that I will definitely be checking out when we are in the house. But matte paint has a great look to it, and again, it might not be as durable as high gloss, but they are getting much better than they ever have been in the past, so definitely something to check out. Another thing with paint is when you're going through and the walls are just soaking up all of that paint and you start getting that little bit of patchiness, you have to go through with another coat, sometimes a third, and then sometimes you still have to do some patching up just to make sure it all looks as good as possible. Now typically using a roller is going to be the best way to get those large surface areas, but you might be inclined to go back through with a brush for touch-up because it's much smaller, it's much easier to get around to all of the different places that you need to patch. So if you used a roller for that initial coat, you want to use a roller again for that touch-up job. If you've ever done it with a brush afterward and you see that stark difference, that's what we're trying to avoid here. So always use the same tool for the full job and that touch-up to avoid any of those kind of more obvious touch-up jobs. Color is also something to think about. So again, like we mentioned before, test, test, test. You cannot go off of a paint chip. The lighting in the store is going to be different. It's not going to pick up on any of the other shades and tones in your home. So you always want to make sure that you actually have the paint in your space and that you've been able to see it, again, not only on multiple walls, but throughout different times of the day. So it's going to look different in the morning than it is at high noon, than it is in the evening, than with lights on, lights off. You want all of that information. So yes, it takes a little bit longer, but it will be so worth it in the end. Number 3, this is going to be maybe a little bit controversial, but a pop of color. So everybody knows that you need to have a pop of color. We all love a pop of color, but what does that mean? Because I think for myself, again, I'll pick on me, that just meant that you needed to have a color and maybe a couple different times, have that color throughout the room. Now you still need to think about the room as a whole, your home as a whole, to bring in that cohesiveness. So I have never really had a design style. I just kind of bought things here and there and mashed it all together and hoped that it worked. And spoilers, it did not. But I knew that it needed some color, and blue was just it's an easy color to kind of rely on. Reds, yellows, they can be a little bit more just in your face, and blue can be a little bit more subdued. You can make it very, very beautiful, but when you are looking for that pop of color, make sure it means something to the space. You don't want to pick the exact same shade across. You do want to have some dimension for whatever that color is. So you will pick different shades, different variations, different items throughout the room to make sure that it does actually speak to some type of decor style and not just, I picked this up because I needed something in the room and I put it on the couch and here we go. But while you're going with those kind of different versions of the same color, you also need to make sure that it is kind of that same version. So again, I went with blue quite a bit, and that kind of ventured out into teal, into turquoise, into dark navy blues, into very light sky blues. And yes, they can all kind of live in the blue category, but they have nothing to do with each other. So it never looks quite right. So personally, I am not a huge fan of the whole pop of color just idea in general. I understand where we're kind of going with it, but it's actually pretty difficult to execute when you're not quite sure what it is you're looking for. So again, I would figure out what that color is. Maybe it's something that, it's your favorite color. Maybe it just kind of really works in with your space, and find different tones, different shades that really do go together, so it's not so stark and mismatched throughout your home. That next mistake is kind of very close to that matchy bedroom set, and that is going to be that bed in a bag. So just like with that matching bed, dresser, nightstand, etc., when you have that bed in a bag, it's very easy. So I get why it is appealing. I have, of course, done it myself multiple times, but you pick up that bag, you get your comforter, you get your little decorating pillows as well, you get your shams, your sheets, all of that. So it looks like it makes your life so much easier. But again, just like with that matchy set, it's not interesting, it's not fun. Even if you pick a fun pattern, it never really reads as it's been made for you. It reads as I went to Bed Bath & Beyond and picked up a thing off the shelf. They also tend to come with a lot of pillows, which I love pillows, but at the same time, when you're pulling 15 pillows off your bed that have no purpose other than for that decor, and then putting them back on in the morning, it can be a bit much. So they tend to make you buy those large pillows because they have those, shams or something like that. Then you have your regular pillows, and then they have the decorative pillows up front in front of those pillows, and then they come with those smaller ones that just add a little bit more. Before you know it, there's pillows everywhere. There's ones that you had to buy just because the bed set said it had a sham for it, and you never actually use it, and it doesn't do much for the room itself. So there's like a hidden cost with these sets. So I do love pillows. I do think you want a couple up there, but hopefully they are ones that you do use personally. And if they are decorative, it's only, the 2 up front or something like that. It's not 7 more pillows that you have no use for to complete the look that the bed in the bag said you had to. So just like with that furniture, figure out where you can pull different pieces. So right now we have our sheet set, but then we have a completely different duvet cover. We do have a throw over that just kind of adds a little bit more texture and warmth. We do have a couple of pillows as well, but again, none of them, they go together, but they don't match. And I think that just kind of adds that layered look that shows that somebody actually put thought into creating this space. That next piece is going to be all about the TV. So a lot of times we want a very big TV. It's what we like, and I don't think there's any shame in that. But we want to make sure that either what it's above or what it's sitting on is the proper size. I'm making a lot of generalizations here. We like bigger TVs, but a lot of times that means that the TV stand that we're getting, or the media console, or whatever it is, can be a little bit small for the TV. So typically you want something, again, about 2/3, just like you would for a painting or any type of artwork above a console as well. You want to make sure that it has enough presence to balance out the TV, whether it is mounted on the wall or sitting on top of that media console itself. You just want to make sure that the proportions are right. If it's too small, it's going to look off. If it's too low, if it's too high. So again, these are just all things to keep in mind to make sure that you're presenting a more cohesive and sophisticated look. Kind of going along with the TV, that next step is cords. Cords are everywhere. I'm looking at way too many right now. I'll give myself a pass because I know that this desk is not going to look like this once we do move, but it drives me insane. So our TVs, our monitors, our computers, our phones, there's just always cords everywhere, and leaving them out just looks messy, it looks cluttered, and you can have the most perfect room design. Everything in there is completely on point, but if you have cords, just out hanging from your TV, from speakers, from whatever it is, it's going to read messy. So any chance you can to hide those cords, to tidy them up, to get them hidden is going to really pay off. For the TV, you can get those kind of covers that can hide all of the cords underneath. I would suggest painting those with the same color as the wall so they don't stick out too much. If you do have it in your budget, if you want to run those cords behind the wall, that might be worth it in the end. I'm also a really big fan of those little plastic hooks, like the command hooks and all of that, where you can wrap a cord around and stick it to the back of a piece of furniture. So if you have your console table pushed all the way up against a wall, you can guide the cords around and have them kind of hidden away out of sight between the furniture and the wall so that it gives you a very clean, crisp look and without any of that kind of cords dangling or where it looks like you tried to hide it, but you can still see them around the outside of the legs or anything like that. So anytime you can, in a more clean look, get those cords hidden, it will be worth it. That next step is going to be rug size. Now, typically you tend to see rugs that are too small for a space. If it's just, putting your coffee table on an island in the middle of your living room, it's probably not the right size. You definitely want one that is large enough that if you have furniture, at least those front legs are on it, if it doesn't enclose the entire sitting space. You want to think of your rug as really anchoring that space and kind of sectioning it off, showing this is what this area of the home is for. So if it is in your living room, again, you want to have your couch, your accent chairs, your coffee table, all of that comfortably on in some capacity, that rug, to really denote that this is where that space lies. In the bedroom, you want to make sure that it's serving its purpose. A lot of times you'll see the rug in front of the bed, which doesn't really help for when you're trying to get out of bed and your feet are touching the cold floor in the mornings. So you want to make sure that you pull that rug back so that when you do swing your feet off, you're actually landing on that soft rug instead of a cold floor. In a dining room, it will be helpful if when you pull the chairs out, they're still on that rug so that you're not kind of half on, half off, and you're doing this kind of wobbly thing throughout the meal. Just a lot of different sizings to think of. You want to make sure that everything fits in the space, and again, it just kind of defines the space, which is really part of the purpose of that rug. Now, you don't want your rug to become wall-to-wall carpet, so it shouldn't touch any of the walls, and you do have probably a floor that you really want to show off, whether it's that hardwood or a really pretty tile or whatever it is. You don't want to cover the whole thing, then it might as well be carpet. Now, if you're having trouble finding the right size, you can actually go to a carpet store and have them kind of cut and design one for you. Because carpet comes in such these large pieces, they are able to kind of custom make a rug for you. So if you have a huge space and you cannot find a rug, rugs get very, very expensive very fast, that might be a great option for you. While we're picking on the living room a little bit, we're gonna talk about your furniture being pushed all the way up against the wall. Now, sometimes the space, that's all you can do, and that's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about, you've seen those pictures where you get into the living room and there's a couch on one side of the wall and there's a couch on the other side of the wall, and there's so much distance in between that if you were actually sitting down and trying to have a conversation with somebody, you'd pretty much have to be shouting to be heard. That's the kind of case where you want to start bringing that in a little bit. If your coffee table is an island in the middle of a vast sea of carpet and your couches are all the way up against the wall, it just doesn't really read cozy, welcoming, inviting, or put together. So if your space does allow, and I think you'll find more spaces do than you might realize, pull that furniture off of the wall, create that seating space, that conversation area. So if you think about that kind of rug that we just talked about, again, it's not going to go all the way up to the walls. You're bringing the rug in, which means you're going to bring the furniture in to make for a more kind of intimate setting. That's also going to leave some space to walk around the outsides, which is nice. Maybe you can fit something else back there. Maybe it's, a media console. Maybe it's just giving people more areas to walk around, which is always helpful instead of always having to cross in front of, if you are watching TV, if you are having a conversation, giving people another avenue to get about is going to be very helpful. It might seem a little weird to have your furniture pulled in closer, but I think that you're really going to love the result. Again, if your space allows, it will just make it look so much better. And then our final piece is going to be a lack of greenery. The plants are absolutely beautiful. There are so many types. There's definitely something out there that speaks to you. But just like we spoke about in that last video, which I will link right here for you, nature is always in style. It's always something that is going to bring that earthiness, that beauty and life into your home. Now, by greenery, I do not necessarily mean it is alive. If you are like me and you can kill a cactus, have killed multiple, it does not need to be a real plant, a real tree, or anything like that. If you are going with faux greenery, be a little bit discerning. You want to make sure that it does look good. There is a lot of cheap faux greenery out there that if you can tell right away, it's probably not worth your time and energy. So go for the higher quality ones, but even just having something there is going to be helpful. Now, if you are able to keep a plant alive, first of all, tell me your secrets. Second, bring in those plants. That is really going to help. Now, it does not need to be plant overload. It's not a greenhouse, but having something in the corner of the room, a large tree, maybe having a nice potted plant over on a stand somewhere, it helps breathe life into your space. And it's something that I had never really had before. Again, with my terrible track record of trying to keep them alive, I just hadn't really put any thought or effort into it. But it is very, very much worth your time if, again, you can keep these plants alive. It's something that can grow with you and you can keep for years, decades even. You can move it around to different rooms. You can bring it with you to your next home. It's kind of nice to have something that has grown with you if, again, you can do that. Otherwise, faux greenery is totally a great option as well. Something that just brings that natural look in is going to be so beautiful. That is everything for this week. I hope you did find something in here helpful. If you did, go ahead, leave me a comment below. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Until next time, bye.